Nigeria may be an emerging economy, but our digital economy is no longer emerging. With more than ₦250 billion of transactions done in Nigeria last year, we can no longer consider ourselves emerging. With some of the tech innovations that have come out of Nigeria over the last 20 years, we can no longer consider ourselves as emerging. Even in the digital space and digital currencies, the numbers we're seeing is that Nigerians are responsible for more than $60 billion worth of digital transactions happening in digital exchanges and on digital platforms across the world. And a lot of the innovators who have driven that are sitting in this room today. My name is Akeem Lawal. I was part of a team of 4 engineers some 23 years ago that set out to build the payment switch that created the bedrock and the platform on which a lot of you here maybe would have built products and services today. So I want to talk a little bit about what's next, right? Where are we going next? What is the infrastructure requirements to create the next big development, the next big innovation, not only in Nigeria, but on the African continent. So I'm talking about building Africa's digital economy on a trusted infrastructure. Nigeria may be an emerging economy, but our digital economy is no longer emerging. With more than ₦250 billion of transactions done in Nigeria last year, we can no longer consider ourselves emerging. With some of the tech innovations that have come out of Nigeria over the last 20 years, we can no longer consider ourselves as emerging. Even in the digital space and digital currencies, the numbers we're seeing is that Nigerians are responsible for more than $60 billion worth of digital transactions happening in digital exchanges and on digital platforms across the world. And a lot of the innovators who have driven that are sitting in this room today. The question that we've been asking ourselves as Interswitch is, can our infrastructure keep up? Can we build the infrastructure for the next big push that will shape the next 10 years of the Nigerian tech ecosystem and the African tech ecosystem? Let me start by kind of creating a little bit of context, right? If you do a card transaction today, and it works. If you pay a bill, and it works. If you transfer to a recipient, and that recipient gets money, right? You're running on an infrastructure that is built on something that is invisible, right? It might be billions of dollars in investment, but it's built on something that is invisible. It's built on trust. And trust is what we have been building as Interswitch every day for the last 23 years. How did we set about building this? And I'll try to paint a picture of how we think about what it is that we're doing. As a country, we're trying to get from A to B. We're trying to get from emerging to developed. We're trying to move from not innovative to innovative. But to do that, you need to create a road, right? It's like you want to travel from Lagos to, let me use Abuja. Right? Someone has to build the roads. Someone has to make it possible for you to be able to put a car on that road and drive all the way to where you're going, right? But a road alone is not the ecosystem. The ecosystem requires, along the road, you will need gas stations because you need to fuel up around the way. You will need convenience stores if you get hungry. You will need to stop in Lokoja to buy fish, for example, right? We as Interswitch may not have focused on building a lot of those additional elements, but we believe that if you build the infrastructure and you create a community of partnership, then everyone else will add to the infrastructure that you've built. They will build the products, the cars that will run on the road, the convenience stations that are necessary, and the gas stations that are required. And all of a sudden, you then have a solid infrastructure that supports the journey from Lagos to Abuja in a more convenient manner. Just like the roads, that's what we've been doing. building the infrastructure and inviting partners to join us. And this is a journey that we've been doing for many, many years. That infrastructure has survived recessions. It has survived cashless Nigeria twice. It has survived power, it has survived inflation, it has survived economic downturns, and even foreign exchange hikes, right? And we continue to grow the volume and value of transactions that we're doing on that. But we do not do it alone. I will show you the ecosystem that we've built, right? On this ecosystem, we have banks, so all commercial banks, all microfinance banks, all finance houses who are doing some form of payment in Nigeria are running on this infrastructure that we've built. Government, whether it's state or federal, is running on this infrastructure that is built. Corporates, consumers, even fintechs. Every single one of the fintechs who is doing some form of card payments or digital payments in Nigeria is running on this infrastructure that is built. Even our international and domestic schemes, including ours, Verve, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, Diners, JCB, Union Pay, are all running on this infrastructure that we've built. We've extended that infrastructure into sectors like education, energy, right? Creating the infrastructure on which you, as partners and innovators, will then put the filling stations, the convenience stores, the cars, and the rail systems, right? That is what we're building. That is what we have been building every day for the last 23 years. But the big question is, what's next? Where are we going from here? What is going to drive the next 10 years of Nigeria's digital infrastructure and digital economy, and Africa's digital infrastructure and digital economy? We've identified the key things that we need to focus on as a business, right? The first is really a need to modernize and future-proof our existing payment infrastructure. Recently, the central bank announced the migration from ISO 8583. 8583 was built in 1997, right? Or 1987, actually. Let that sink in for a while. The technology stack the technology standard on which we've been building payments for the last 20 years was built in 1987. It is time to modernize that. And it's one of the reasons why the central bank has insisted that as an industry, we need to move to ISO 20022, right? Which creates a modernized platform, a modernized tech standard that allows us to do digital payments, both for cards and for non-cards, right? We've put that infrastructure in place, but we also recognize that there will be smaller players who cannot make the investment. So part of what we've done is we've created a translation hub that if you want to comply by the end of this month, which is the deadline that the central bank has given, you can connect your existing platforms running on whatever standards you have to that translation hub that changes it to ISO 2002 as a quick path for migration for banks and other financial institutions, right? We've embedded AI into our tech platforms, right? We know that there is a value in the innovation that AIs are bringing, right? But we believe that it is necessary to create infrastructure on the continent, in the country, that can allow innovators to thrive without the significant costs of doing this globally. We're making that investment as well. We also think our real-time payments is in need for modernization, right? If you think about it, Nigeria is now probably, if not the top, one of the top 3 countries in the world for instant payments around the world, and I'm not just talking about in Africa, around the world, in terms of instant payments, by volume of transactions. Maybe not by value because our currency is not as strong, but definitely by volume. But we've been doing push payments from as far back as we've started. It is time to build the capacity to do request to pay and to build new use cases on top of the payment infrastructure. That requires us to modernize the payment tech that we have. Now, if you switch to the other side, which is how do we build for the future, right? Last year, I was interviewed here, and I was asked which of the 2 technologies is likely to drive the evolution in the payment system over the next year. I think the interviewer was expecting me to say AI, but I said blockchain, right? And there was a reason I said that, right? The reason is that we can see clearly that Nigerians are using digital currency, digital assets, and stable coins. And they are doing a whole lot of transactions on that platform. But a lot of it is not regulated, not captured, not visible, right? How do we build a regulated infrastructure that can allow those people who are innovating in that space to come into the regulated space and expand and scale what it is that they have been building? So it's an area where we're building, trying to bring stablecoin, CBDCs into the regulated space with a trusted, regulated infrastructure. We're building AI into that as well to deal with things like improving our capacity to deliver and our ability to innovate more quickly. And finally, it's what I'm most passionate about is building how do we solve this problem of Pan-African payments so that we do not ever have to use a foreign currency to do a domestic transaction between two African countries. We may build the infrastructure that lays the rails, but I think it's collaboration that drives the momentum. We think it's fuel. Trust is what fuels the journey. And together, all of us working together can power Africa's digital future. Thank you all very much.